So, ooh, this scares me. But we're going to go in with Violet, which is the darker shade. Like, I'm not a huge purple person, typically, but I am a big fan of Prada Beauty. And so when I saw their new Wisteria collection launch at Selfridges, I thought I'd pick it up and review it and see how it works with some of the other Prada products I have. So if taking a look at the new Wisteria collection, the 2 blushes, the lip balm, and the liner sounds good to you, then I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, follow along, shop my links, all that goodness, unsolicited advice, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay, let's go. So we'll get the cat out of the bag. Yes, I have seen the new Prada quad, the mahogany quad, and I have seen the new Prada lip gloss colors. But those haven't released yet, so we're not looking at those today. What we are looking at is the 2 new shades of the Prada blush, the new shade of the Prada PH Balm, and a re-promote of the Prada liner. So these are all in the Wisteria collection, and it's just kind of a mini collection to get us ready or through the fall. And so I'm going to use all Prada products today where I can. There's a few things I don't have or Prada doesn't have. So for instance, they don't have an eyebrow pencil or they don't have lip liners yet. They actually don't have a bronzer, but I have one that's a pretty similar consistency. But everything else they pretty much have, or I have something very similar. So let's get started. I do not have the Prada primer. I've heard it's very nice. It is a blurring primer, not so much about glow, because the foundation has a nice amount of perfecting glow in it. So I actually have a really good substitute for a blurring primer, and this is the Smooth On Lock primer from Hard Candy, which is really great because it's $6 or $7. But it is a blurring silicone-based primer, and I think it will work really well because it has similar properties to the Prada one when I have sampled that one before. And when I have sampled it, I have enjoyed the Prada one. It's just I have so many primers, and that's sometimes, you know, a hard thing to justify spending $60 or $70 on a primer when you have so many. Of course, that doesn't stop me from all the other Prada products that are out there. So they don't have an eyebrow pencil, so I can go ahead and just use my trusty old Benefit one. And even if they did, I am hard pressed to find a pencil that I like more than the Benefit one, at least for the price. I think it's a really reasonable price and you get a lot of product in it. This isn't the super tiny one. This is the one that's just slightly got a little bit more coverage. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have in the Prada Wisteria collection. They're doing a re-promote of their, what is the color? Glycine liner. This came out last spring, but they're re-promoting it as part of this series. And I'll show you. It's just a beautiful, cool tone, kind of purpley color. It's interesting this is coming out now, because to me it seems like a spring color, but whatever. Then earlier this year, they released the Prada Touch blushes, and there were 8, I think, total of those. They came in that kind of pink color. Well, they have released 2 new ones. We have Wisteria and Violet. And a lot of people complained and bitched about these when they came out because of the packaging. And yeah, I get it's not as luxurious as like the other packaging they have, but it's also half the price. And I think that the point of these was to get these Prada Touch blushes in the hands of a younger or new audience. And they are a lovely product. So let me show you, if you've never tried them before, they're kind of a moussey texture, which is kind of what everything is right now. But this first one is called Wisteria, and it's pretty much a pinker version of the liner. You can see. And the second one, which is very intimidating in the container, is Violet. And that is a scary blush. But if it's anything like the others, these can be sheared out. So that's Violet. Those are beautiful purples. And like I said, I'm not a huge purple person. Finally, the new Balm they have a series of these. They have a blue one that's pH. They have a green that's not. They have a yellow that's not. But this one is, and this is in the shade Wisteria as well. And I noticed from just swatching it that it does turn pinky after a few minutes on my hand. So it'll be interesting to get that on the lips. They don't have an eyeshadow primer, so I'm going to go ahead and just use my Rare Beauty primer. They did not release a quad with this collection, but I think I have a good solution for that. I guess they're feeling like this is going to be really big for the fall. Like I said, it's kind of strange the time of year it's coming out. That's already showing up more than it did just a second ago. And everything's got that Prada florally, irisy scent, but it does dissipate rather quickly. So Prada has a purple eyeshadow palette called Portrait. It's really beautiful. However, I think that the purple in there might not be the best match for this. I mean, it certainly would work. But since we want to make the liner really shine, I'm going to use the Peony quad from them, which actually is a quad I did not like last year when it came out because it had very little color and pigmentation. However, that might be perfect for today where we're letting the liner be the star of the show. So, you know, my main complaint was I didn't know who it was for last year when it came out because it's so incredibly light, but it actually might be perfect for today. So I'm going to go in with this top shade here. And I do love the Prada eyeshadow formula. It's very creamy. Let's bring you in, shall we? Okay. I hope for the holidays this year. Well, maybe the mahogany is the holiday collection this year, but I hope that they come out with it's nice, a quad with a lot of metallic in it, like they did a few years ago. They came out with one, I think it was 2 years ago. What was that one called? Platinum. And it had like 3 metallics in it. Really beautiful. This is a good brightening color. Okay, so the next color up is this kind of suede color over here. So I'm just going to put that on the bulk of the lid. As you see, like this would be a great like day palette. It doesn't show up on my skin tone. I say that, but it certainly has pigment. I mean, the Prada palettes have pigment. It's just the pigments that are in here are so light. There were some others that came out in this series that I liked a lot better. Now, I do like the lighter colors in here for transitions and for crease colors, so I do sometimes use it in combination with some of the darker ones. And the one that it looks like is coming for fall looks dark. Okay, so this middle shade is kind of a taupe color. So I'm going to see if I can darken this up any on the outer corner. I don't know that I will be able to. Like I said, it's really tame, this palette. Okay, and then there is a pink, sort of very light duochrome shade in here. It's very light, but it does have a pretty, like, kind of minimal rose gold shift to it. So I think what I'm going to do is put that on the inner third and the inner corner, because it is very, very light. I'm just going to use the little applicator for this. As you see, this is why I got frustrated with this palette last year, because I just couldn't get it to show up on my skin tone. I can totally see why in some markets of the world this would be a big seller, but you would have to be so pale. Or just be somebody that's really into, you know, a very minimal look. I'm going to grab a little bit of that second color over here, and on the same, I'm just going to run it under. I'm really just creating a base for this liner so we can test this collection, because I'm not getting much out of that. Which is so shocking because the other Pradas are so great and have such bold colors. But this one is pretty for a base for something like a really bold liner or really bold blushes. And these are really bold liners and blushes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this Re-Promote in the Wisteria collection. This is in Glycine. And it looks like she needs to be sharpened a little bit. So, oh, okay. Chanel sharpener. These liners are actually really nice. They don't move once they sit down. I'm really impressed in general with Prada Beauty. Some things I like more than others, but for the most part, they've done a really beautiful job, and no one can say that their products don't, well, with the exception of this palette, contain a ton of pigment. They are very bold. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw a wing on with this. It's just a smudgy one, nothing fancy. I did a pretty thick line there, but I think that it can handle it because it's such a light color. Okay, so I'm going to grab my Prada Scope Mascara, which comes in black and brown. I think I'm going to try the black today. Because again, I want these purples and violets to be the star of the show. And this is a very nice mascara if you haven't tried it. It's very I would say it's lengthening, but it's not particularly filling, so it's not like a YSL one that's going to give you like va va boom lashes. Okay, so again, very simple, just so we can see how it plays with all these others. So I'm going to clean my hand off from this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish the face using Prada products. No. No. No one needs to get that close. So one area where Prada really succeeds, besides their eyeshadow quads for the most part, is their foundation. They have a beautiful perfecting foundation that can get to full coverage quickly. It's still one of the best foundations on the market, I think. And I have mine in 2 shades. I have mine in, let's see, LN25 and MC45, and I kind of mix them. I need to get the middle shade, but I'm not going to until it runs out. So let me grab a little mixture of these two. And it is a beautiful foundation. So and Prada, for whatever reason, like, it is heavily scented with this iris scent, but for whatever reason, I just don't mind this scent as much as I do some other scented products. Okay, so let's go ahead and work this in. And like I said, it is a really beautiful, perfecting foundation. And I realize it looks a little light right now, but we'll bronze it up. It is clinging right here, but I think that's a dry patch. I don't think that that's necessarily the problem of the foundation, because typically this is a really beautiful foundation. Now earlier, actually I've got a little bit left on my hand. So let's go ahead and cover some of these areas that are a little more red. Now earlier this year, Prada came out with their concealer, and I do really like it. It's not one of my all-time favorites because it's still a little drying to me. It looks a little bit drying, but with the right hydration under it, it works really beautiful. And it doesn't take a ton. What's funny is it came out around the exact same time as the Chanel La Beige one. And that one is so spectacular that I think it took a lot of the hype that would have gone to this one, but this one is beautiful nonetheless. Again, the star of today is going to be these blushes, which look very intimidating. But if they're like the others, they should work with a soft hand, which is not always something I possess. Okay, now I'm going to set my under eyes, and Prada has a beautiful setting powder. It comes in the universal green shade, which has got a little bit of a color correcting property. You can't really see it when it's on, but it's this beautiful creamy consistency. And I'm really shocked that they have not come out with a bronzer, because this consistency would be perfect for a bronzer. But maybe that's coming down the pike. I think if they do, they'll probably do it in a collection like this and not like the packaging of the blushes, because you need a larger pan for bronzer. Now, I don't like I said, have a Prada bronzer. They don't have them yet, but one that is very, very similar to the blushes and this setting powder in consistency is the new Westman Atelier Soleil Parfaits. I have mine in the shade 1, but it is a very, very similar product texture-wise to the Prada blushes and the setting powder. So I'm just going to kind of take a mix of these two together just to kind of warm up. This is a really beautiful product. And they have a new foundation coming out. Westman Atelier. I think it's supposed to come out in the August. There's a lot of new products coming out in August, which is good because I think we've been a little dry this summer of new products, other than of course cream blushes, which the market seems to think we need 7,000 of. But you can see that I can just, and the thing about this product, it is so foolproof that I really can use it to just warm up my complexion here. And I don't have to worry about it looking streaky. It's such a nice product. And I'm sure if Prada comes out with a bronzer, it's going to be a similar texture to that. So that's what we have there. Now we get to the scary part, which is these two new shades. I think what I'll do is do the lighter shade up higher, or no, lower, and then do the kind of darker, deeper shade up a little higher. So, ooh, this scares me. But we're going to go in with Violet, which is the darker shade. And I'm going to grab, let's see, this multi-powder brush. It does pick up a good amount. So I'm going to actually take some of that off on the back of my hand. Okay, you can see if you go in really lightly and build up, you can control the amount of pigment you're getting there. That's beautiful. But I do think putting it on the back of your hand will help evenly distribute it. Now, if you're darker than me, you may not have to do that. This may show up and look absolutely beautiful on you. But you can see even there I went heavier than here. Probably too heavy, but that's okay because I can go back in with my foundation brush and fix that. And I really want to show you the colors, so I'm going to go in kind of heavy here. Okay, so now let's clean off the brush and turn it around and look at the Wisteria color, which I think is a really unique color. Let's flip the brush around. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to have to do this one on the back of my hand because this one is pretty light. But what I'm essentially going to do is center it down here and then even out the edges of this deeper purple. Oh yeah, that's kind of got a milky, like a milky purple color. That's interesting. is bold. Now, obviously, I could use a much lighter hand, but I'm using a heavy hand today just to kind of show you what you can get out of this. They are certainly pigmented, so people can complain that the price on the blushes is high for the amount of product you're getting, but you don't have to use a lot of product. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with my foundation brush and calm this down a little bit. Because I feel like if I got a delivery or something right now, I might look a little crazy. But that did actually calm it down a little. Compare it to over here. This looks much better. I'll put in the description these brushes. They were sent to me in PR. I don't know the name of them because it doesn't say on here. It just has an A. But they are really nice. I think they're synthetic, but they're a nice brush. Okay, that kind of toned it down a little bit. I think it's an interesting look. Okay, now Prada has some really beautiful highlighters, and I have mine in the shade Light, which is just a champagne. Really beautiful highlighters if you've never tried them before. And you can get that kind of lit from within glow with them. You just want to be careful. Now you do have to use a slightly denser brush with them because they are a denser kind of almost cream formula. I'm just going to use the edge of this foundation brush because I don't want to make a lot of laundry. That's nice. Actually, I'm going to go in with a little bit more of that Wisteria color. Just a little bit. Just to reintroduce it here. Okay. So last but not least, we have the new lip balm. Now Prada doesn't have lip liners, and I don't have a lot of purpley lip liners, but one I did find that I have, which I think will work. It might be a little off, but it is from the Sephora collection, and this is in the shade Wild at Heart. Just a purple. Fenty has these. Because although this is a pH changing lip balm, it still doesn't have a ton of pigment. It's not like their glosses or their lip oils, which I do like those, but those have a lot of pigment. Okay, let's see if we can smooth this out. Okay, so let's bring you in, shall we? And let's see how this looks. can see it's getting a little bit darker. Even while it's sitting there and kind of getting a little pinkier. It's a really pretty color. I think with something like this, because it's a more natural sort of matte foundation, to add in some glow, I'm going to grab a glowy setting spray. In this case, I have my Pat McGrath Glass 01, which is the perfect kind of glowy setting spray for a look like this, because it's going to give you that kind of glassy look. What do we think? I'll pull you out. And you see my pores that much. So I think it's really beautiful. I think if you like purple, you obviously can make it work. You're going to want to be very careful if you're my skin tone or lighter with that violet shade of blush, but you can make it work using a dense but very, how do we say this? Dense but fluffy brush will achieve that. I think it looks really beautiful. The liner, everything, it's a very cohesive, monotone sort of look. If you're into these colors, I could see how, like I said, it seems to me like it would be more of a spring thing, but maybe this is part of Prada's launch for fall. It should be coming here any day. I'll let you know when it comes. Right now, like I said, it is at Selfridges, and if you have these Selfridges Plus membership, which I think is $100 a year, but it's free shipping. So it's a great way if you order a lot from Selfridges. And sometimes, particularly on Prada, but a couple of other brands, they can be a little less over there. Now, obviously, you're going to have to pay duties, but if you want to get them ahead of time, or if you want to get sometimes brands that don't come out here, or launches that only come out in Europe or Asia, then Selfridges is a good place to find them. But I'm sure this will hit like Nordstrom or everything soon. That glowy setting spray really tied it all together. I think it's a beautiful collection, and I like how the lip gloss is changing color to even a little bit more of a richer violet the more it's on there. So if you liked this kind of content and you like seeing swatches and doing looks, then I really would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, shop my links, all that goodness. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help the channel, because Prada, like many, is an expensive brand. And I really appreciate you being here. A little purple look, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye, everybody.